What's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with another episode of the Shackcast. This is episode 36. Today we're going to talk about Blue Beetle, the Snow White Remake Backlash. We're going to talk about Gamescom 2023 and the latest news for Destiny 2 and much, much more. But let's first just kind of start off talking about Blue Beetle, because I saw this movie recently and I was very excited. I will have the video, a little trailer playing a Blue Beetle, just so, you know, those of you watching the YouTube video have a little something to sort of look at and reference. But Blue Beetle was really one of DC's best movies that I've seen in quite some time. Those of you that know me well know that Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Wonder Woman are like my top DC movies, as well as the Dark Knight trilogy. But like of the more recent stuff that's tied together, those are my favorites. But now Blue Beetle has really come up there close to the top. I really enjoyed this movie. It had all the ingredients that a good comic book movie needs. It did the origin story without being, you know, sort of ruining the pacing or be like, oh, come on, like, when's he gonna get the suit? You know, when's the big fight? When's an action scene gonna hit? I didn't really feel like we were having issues like that. They were spending a lot of time, as the director said in the commentary before the film started, they spend a lot of time sort of building up the characters and their relationships and the family, because, I mean, that really is the core of the movie. It's not just about a costume and bad guys and cool powers and stuff like that. There's a lot of heart to this movie, and I think the Latino American angle that they're going with here makes the movie incredibly special, easily relatable, especially as someone here in Texas, you know, with Latino American culture, you know, all over the place, and Blue Beetle originally being an El Paso character. Really interesting. So, other things I really enjoyed that I feel like they did really well was I think some of the concerns of a lot of reviewers, and maybe myself included, was that this was just going to be very similar to like Iron Man or even the Spider-Man movies that Tom Holland has done, because essentially it's just a young kid in an Iron Man suit, or what Spider-Man suits have been recently. You know, that's kind of like the knee-jerk reaction, but I think that's like entirely wrong. That's like a really bad way to sort of look at the movie. It's a very misinformed way to look at it as well, but I could see how maybe watching the trailers, you know, you sort of see the, you know, the powerful suit, the Jarvis-like character that, you know, that he's able to talk to in the movie and sort of give commands and have all sorts of conversations with. It definitely strikes those very familiar tropes that we've seen in Iron Man and the more recent Spider-Man movies, which I think we've probably grown tired of, and I find it just less tasteful. But I think this movie does it in a unique way and does it right, in a sense that I felt like the movie wasn't hampered by, well, we've already seen 3 Iron Man movies, we've seen 3 Spider-Man movies, we've watched all these Marvel team-ups of all these heroes and stuff, and it really didn't feel like this movie retraced a lot of steps or stole tropes from other films. This was very much a well-done movie. I gotta give mad props to the cast and, of course, the director. I think they really put together something incredible. Because I myself, not really a big Blue Beetle fan. I got nothing against the character, but myself, just it's not really a character I enjoy reading comics or playing as him in Injustice 2. But actually, they did take some moves from Injustice 2, some inspiration of the character design and the fighting style and stuff like that. And so I found that to be very motivating. I think the family, the cast is instantly lovable. I mean, you sort of just, George Lopez really steals the show humor-wise. And then, of course, Nana, the grandma, just absolutely comes in there and kicks ass and provides a lot of laughs as well. Susan Sarandon crushes it as the villain, as well as the other guy that was in the exosuit. Absolutely just a gripping story, a lot of emotion to it, which I think is what makes it special, is that, probably halfway towards the end of the movie, and so, we were tearing up watching it. There were just some moments that were hard-hitting, and, the Act 3 fight scenes were just absolutely incredible when he sort of mastered his powers and sort of realized that family wasn't his weakness, it was his strength. And the fact that that was brought out for the villain as well made a lot of sense there, and that was really cool. Little homages to Batman and Superman throughout the movie were really cool, without having to reference a wider universe. I think that's the other thing I really liked, was this movie just stands on its own 2 feet. And that's really refreshing for superhero films as of late. Because it does feel like a lot of superhero films, especially in the MCU, were just sort of one leading to the next, and none of these films, a lot of them didn't really have any sort of character development or any sort of replayability where you're like, wow, I would like to watch this movie again, because it stands really well on its own. And I feel like movies like Captain America: The Winter Soldier are really the only ones, that's one of the few that I feel like I can go back to, and I don't have to watch anything before it or anything after it. I can enjoy that movie as an individual film and see the character growth that the character goes through. So without, harping and doing a DC versus Marvel thing, I think even as a DC movie, this one comes across really, really strong. And so I think regardless of how you feel about the character or the state of the DC universe, in terms of movies and all sorts of stuff, I think this is a must-see movie of the summer. I think this is a really good one. It made me fall in love with a character that I was kind of, middle of the road on, in the same way that, Iron Man is just kind of a tier 3 character, not the most popular or awesome Marvel character, but with the modernization that Robert Downey Jr. brought to the role, he made us fall in love with a character that just normally hasn't really been, other than in the comics, in movies and TV and stuff like that, he's never really got his time to shine. And so that's what's happened with Blue Beetle here. He's gotten his time in the spotlight, his time to shine. It's a really good movie. It's got action. It's got these sort of, neon cyberpunk 80s vibes to it, So I really enjoyed, I felt like that music really connected with the vibe of the character, as well as the Latino music that was playing throughout the film. I think that really puts you in the mood and in the place and the time period. Everything just fits. So I gotta say, there's a really good synergy throughout the entire film that I thought was absolutely incredible. And also, mad props to the Power Glove showing up, and several other, I think there was a Game Boy light that was also used as a prop for different weapons that they used in the movie. I saw some little Easter eggs there, and that was super cool. And once again, the cast, I think, perfectly cast everybody. And it was just a joy to sit through the movie. I wasn't checking my watch or, just sort of wondering when's the big action set piece going to happen. I was just very content living with these characters scene to scene. So I think this really is the mark of a good movie, and I was really excited. It's got me excited about comic book movies again, and I can't wait to see what DC does next and how they sort of build upon this momentum. But I know it's a little difficult when they are sort of abandoning a previous universe that was incredible and they're starting a new one without Superman and Batman and stuff like that. So it's kind of awkward footing and a strange place to be. But I just can't say enough that I really enjoyed Blue Beetle, and I think you'll enjoy it too. I know we have a lot of comic fans on the channel, and I recommend you give this a shot. Go see it while it's in theaters. It's a great film to see on the big screen with the audio and all the immersion that comes with sitting in the theater. So that's going to be all I want to talk about on Blue Beetle. Really, really enjoyed that movie. So next, I kind of want to talk about the Snow White movie and the backlash that we're seeing from that. Rachel Zegler, the actress who plays Snow White, has some comments here that I want us to listen to really quick. And then I'm going to sort of provide my thoughts and then ask you if you would like to respond in the comments on YouTube or anywhere else, anywhere I can find it. I would love to know your thoughts on what's going on with this situation. But let's listen to this brief interview. This is from Variety.
You said you were bringing a modern edge to it on stage. What do you mean by that?
I just mean that it's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be, and the leader that her late father told her that she could be if she was fearless, fair, brave, and true. And so it's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign. I am.
So that's Variety. Just off that initial clip, I feel like there is a little bit of disdain for the character, you know, sort of coming through, saying that it's not 1937 anymore, which is inherently obvious. It is 2023. But I just sort of see this as poor PR training, and I feel like Disney either could have or should have been on the phone immediately after that interview and said, hey, we're going to put you in some PR courses, and you do not talk about our characters, our products, our movies in this way. You know, you being cast as the lead actress, you have to have some respect for both the original source material and whatever sort of retelling that you're trying to do. But yeah, sort of also denying some of the inherent plot points of the film, which is being saved by the prince and stuff. This is sort of a classic Disney trope, and it's something familiar that viewers enjoy. We enjoy the true love's kiss, you know, all these things. You know, we chase that comfort in these old Disney films, and we're looking for it in new ones as well. And even in films like Enchanted, where they sort of take the true love's kiss and perform it as sort of a satire and a joke. And it's fun in the way that Enchanted does it, because it doesn't belittle you, the viewer. It makes fun of Disney themselves, and yet it still manages to tell a love story between the characters, whether it's Giselle and her prince or Robert and his, you know, princess. So be it. But I have one more clip that I want us to also take a look at here. And of course, I'll have links in the description down below. But this one's another brief clip from Entertainment Weekly. Just listen to our thoughts here, and then I'll provide, you know, sort of my full commentary here.
Is that the cartoon was made 85 years ago, and therefore it's extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power and what a woman is fit for in the world. And so when we came to reimagining the actual role of Snow White, it became about the fairest of them all, meaning who is the most just and who can become a fantastic leader. And the reality is, you know, Snow White has to learn a lot of lessons about coming into her own power before she can come into power over a kingdom.
Also, the fact that she's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's the proactive one, and she's the one who set the terms, is what makes it so relevant to where we are today.
So I don't know how exactly she plans to save herself from, spoiler alert here, a poisonous apple. Um, but sort of, and there's another clip where she sort of comments that we could literally just take the actor who plays the prince out of the film. It's Hollywood, baby. He might get cut. I just think that shows a complete disrespect for the source material and a complete misunderstanding of what makes the 1937 classic. This is Disney's first number one animated princess, one of their best-selling movies of all time. It completely changed the game in terms of cartoons and animated films at the time, and even today, it still holds up in a lot of ways. Now, they did discuss a little bit that she sort of has to become a leader and come into her own way. Well, these are things that happen in the original movie. I mean, she becomes a princess. There comes responsibilities with that. And, of course, with even the dwarves, they sort of, serve her in a way, and they sort of work together as a team, and that requires things like leadership and understanding and stuff like that. But turning Snow White into some sort of feminist girl boss is not really the angle that people are going to want to see in theaters. I think that little girls and women are looking to the character as a role model, and that's a good thing. And the moral is not entirely someday my prince will come, even though there's literally a song about that. But, I mean, there's more to the character than that. And you don't have to explore these areas by belittling the prince, by belittling the original source material. And Disney is guilty of this. Marvel is guilty of this. At times when they are trying to make movies with a strong female character, they have to sort of bash down the male character to make her look stronger. And it's not really a good way of doing things. You can have your character be strong-willed, strong, powerful, strong in the sense of physicality, without having, sort of a dipsy, stupid, male figure that she belittles and beats him in feats of strength. You don't have to sort of bring down your already established male characters, whether it's like between She-Hulk and Hulk, or between the mighty Thor, Jane Foster, and of course Thor Odinson, which they are guilty of doing in both of those formats on the TV and the big screen. So a couple of things that I want to sort of comment on is, first off, the costume really looks like it came out of Party City. That's not a diss on anything in particular, other than it just doesn't look like, what a Disney remake with modern technology, modern, fashion materials, recreating a classic. This looks like a dime store cosplay. And I just think that's very strange. It's a very weird angle to chase here. But, this is an original Grimm fairy tale that, got the first, big Disney color animation about the Wicked Queen wanting to murder her innocent stepdaughter, because it turns out that Snow White is the prettiest of them all, and the queen has a sort of aging, fading beauty. And granted, the queen's kind of pretty on her own. But I think another thing that happens here is that the queen disguises herself as a hag and deceives and convinces the princess, Snow White, to eat this apple. And so she is deceived by sort of a maternal and elderly figure, someone you sort of have respect for, and this sort of hag character, is someone that maybe she pities and accepts the gentle kindness of a stranger, perhaps with some naivete. But it's really there's a lot of morals across all the way across the board that we could break down each one of those individual things. And she falls into sort of a death-like slumber, and somehow this curse is only broken by true love's kiss from the prince, someone who's very concerned about Snow White and did not want this beautiful woman to die. It's pretty relatable even from a male perspective. So this comes out in 1937. So a lot of things that the media has sort of been attacking people on and spinning this as, this is bigotry, this is the patriarchy, this is people being racist because the Snow White actress Rachel Zegler is I believe a Colombian American actress. They're saying that you're sexist, you're racist, you're not progressive enough, because this movie is problematic, it's dated, and so we needed to come in here and make all these changes to original source material. Well, the argument stands is that if this movie is problematic and dated, why bother to remake it? Why not just make a new movie, a new Disney princess that can be Latino American and can, you can have all these modern themes that you want to have and see how well that does, rather than taking a classic that we know and love and cherish and then not respecting it and crunching it up and balling it up and throwing it in the trash. So they're sort of gaslighting us because we're not liking what's being offered, and putting it under the guise of, oh, you don't understand, you're just racist, you're all these different things that I sort of went through earlier, and the way that the media is spinning this. It really doesn't come down to that, but I think with certain characters the source material has to be honored, right? Like the Joker, I feel like has to be a man. He has to be a certain character that he's been in the comics. There's a certain look and color scheme and things that have to be in place, and if you change those things too much, even like you did in David Ayer's Suicide Squad, you end up with people just not really accepting the changes to the source material. And so we see this with a lot of other things, but I just feel like this is just them trying to be overly politically correct by sort of casting, princesses that don't match what the original animated source material was. And, to be completely clear here is that this princess exists in Germany. This is a German character, and there's not many Colombian Americans in Germany at the time period, the sort of medieval mythical time period that this movie exists in. Snow White has this beautiful porcelain skin. She has the jet black hair. She has the bright red lips, the red bow in her hair, and the blue and yellow dress, right? And all these iconic features that sort of suit the time period. And there's something about that that is really magical, and that's why people love the original so much. And so it's not racism to say that is the one you enjoy. Like, it's not racist to say, oh, hey, I like Jack Nicholson's Joker more than, let's say, Jared Leto's, or hey, I like, whatever. Like, you can sort of get in here and you can look at all these different interpretations that we've had of characters over time, and it's perfectly acceptable to say, like, oh, I didn't like so-and-so as this character, but when this person was, and if they happen to be different races, that's not racism. We're talking about characters and source material here. So once again, it really shows that perhaps it's the entire production, maybe it's just Rachel herself, that sort of has disdain and disrespect for the character, the source material, and feels this need to overly feminize the film in a way that's probably going to backfire based on a lot of the backlash that's happening here. Snow White is not about being a CEO, girl boss of a Fortune 500 company. You know, it's not about her being a governing figure as a princess. You know, that, you know, save maybe some of those things for the sequel, if that's where you want to go with it, if this movie ends up being really successful, but I don't see that happening. So another thing to sort of bring up is that our society wants love stories, right? Like, we are, you know, sort of deprived of romance and romantic comedies. Everything has to be super PC, and some things don't age well, and we want love stories because it's escapism. We need these things to escape from the horrors at times of everyday life, of our boring jobs, our boring lives, whatever it may be, the stress in our lives, whatever stuff we're dealing with. It's nice to throw on, you know, oftentimes a Disney film and just watch the old Aladdin, watch the old Snow White, Cinderella, whatever, Lion King, whatever movie you enjoy, whether it's new ones or old ones. There's a comfort found in that escapism, that familiarity. And we're starved of this romance and this classic fantasy, and a lot of people like that. And when you put Snow White, you know, you put the words on the screen, you get out the iconic dress, the iconic characters, people come in with an expectation, and you are not giving them the expectation. You are serving them entirely different dish that is not as well cooked as this one. It hasn't been tried and true and tested over decades. This is you trying to say, well, based on this year, we're going to make a movie, but will this movie stand the test of time? Or will this movie get canceled in 2025 when we say, oh wow, the thoughts of, you know, 2023 was so crazy? You're not creating a movie that's going to stand the test of time when you're doing the PC police and the overly feminist agenda in here. And I'm not saying that feminism is bad when I'm speaking about this. I'm saying that sort of this sort of angle, this sort of type of just overly flexing it and shoving it in your face is not something people want to see. And that's why I say Barbie did it right in a way that uplifted women and gave men something to enjoy and learn in the experience. And they created an entertaining film that also sort of educated you without sort of, you know, finger wagging and pointing at you in the face and calling you, you know, a racist, bigot, sexist, you know, all these various things. This movie is sort of going away from these tropes that we come to know and enjoy throughout these movies. We enjoy these old movies. It's a comfort that we know and love. We watch them over and over. So it's a special story from a special franchise with a tried and true character and a lot of people's favorite Disney princess. And the way she sort of speaks about Snow White in interviews, you know, she makes fun of the ride. She says the ride is scary at Disneyland. She says, you know, the character is dated and, you know, it's not up to date with women's standards and things like that, and their roles in society. And it's like, well, it's a mythical movie in a medieval type time period about princesses and castles and queens and all of these things. You know, it's not a modern 2023 business movie, Devil Wears Prada type film, okay? It's not like that. So a couple of the themes that are in the original is true love, and that, you know, characters become a victim of vanity and jealousy. It's a film that teaches you about victory and defeat. It has a lot of ups and downs throughout the movie. It doesn't glorify the evil queen in the way that some movies like Maleficent kind of do. They sort of, you know, they do the Joker treatment. They do even the Venom treatment, where they sort of take a villain or an anti-hero and they try to make them, you know, it's always good for them to be the hero of their own story, but like they really try to make them the hero as well. and give them qualities that the viewer ends up enjoying that more than the main character, that is the entire plot, and the moral of the story is the journey of the main character. So, Disney, other films have been guilty of glorifying the villain a lot in a way that backfires. It's a movie about, overcoming these odds, defying death, literally. It's a fairy tale in the sense that, no one could truly be brought back to life from a kiss, but it speaks to the power of love and want and attraction in someone. And a lot of the other tropes, that even Enchanted sort of makes fun of is that, these people do the true love's kiss and they get married like the next day, they fall in love instantly. These people hardly know each other. I mean, there's something familiar here. There's something beautiful about that. And, if you want to spend time, having scenes where the characters develop romantic interest, but I mean, you have very short amount of time. If the movie's an hour and a half, 2 hours, however, 2.5, whatever you can do, but you have to keep in mind that these are also children's movies, and you have to keep their attention as well. So I think that's another thing that Disney sort of forgets when they're putting in sort of their PC propaganda, is that they're forgetting these are children's movies. These need to be simple and understandable, and not prodding some overarching crazy message that a lot of people are going to find disgusting. And we, getting back to all the things that build up in this movie, is the idea of the happily ever after. I mean, that's something that we chase in our lives. When we marry someone, we want to live happily ever after. When we get a job that has us secure, and a home and all of these things, we want to live happy ever after. It's a fantasy that we love to chase, whether it's the American dream in real life here in America. It's something that we chase. It's an escapism from reality when things are bad and we're down on our luck, and we, maybe we don't have someone we love in our lives. This movie provides hope. And if you're taking that out of the movie, then you just have this girl boss movie that doesn't really have any broader messaging behind it other than woman good, man bad, and calling, as Zegler has also said in other comments, calling the prince a creepy stalker who is non-essential to the movie, clearly is someone who has not watched the original movie and doesn't realize the connection between these characters. And hey, if that's the way the masses see the prince, then maybe we do need to do something about it. But if it's just one person's opinion that's starring in the movie, I think we need to very much educate this person and make sure they realize what they're dealing with. And you would think an experienced actor or actress would know to have respect for the company you're working for, the source material, the character, especially if it's based off of books, movies, video games, any of this stuff. You have to know your stuff, and you have to treat it well, because the fan base will tear you up, and so will the company you're working for if you disrespect or bring dishonor or bring all this negative press coming in. If I were at the top of Disney, I would be calling her in for a meeting and saying, wow, we have to recast this, because not only is this movie going in a completely wrong direction, but we have people that are narcissistic and egotistical about getting this big role here, and just thinking that they're the hottest thing on the market, when really, you're just taking your ego for a trip here. So that's kind of what I think about the Snow White remake, and I think the media is sort of spinning it and gaslighting us into thinking that we're wrong about this. But sound off in the comments down below. Just remember to be respectful and kind of others' opinions, and not to use any foul language. But, just sort of let me know your thoughts. I'd be curious to know what you think about Snow White, and what you think about the remake of Snow White, and the actress's comments. So, Proceeding on, Gamescom 2023 was something that we covered this week on the channel, and I wanted to do a little bit of some recapping on the channel. I'm going to have some video assets playing for those of you that like to have something to look at on the YouTube. But yeah, we got a look at Destiny 2, the final shape, and then of course the latest season, Season 22, the Season of the Witch. We got a glimpse of the 3 new subclasses. The Warlock is going to get a Solar subclass, the Hunter is going to get an Arc subclass, and the Titan character is going to get a Void subclass. And they have done something where, rather than make each of these about some sort of you know, DPS machine, rather than doing that with these characters, they are making it more of a thing that buffs the team. You're still powerful and stuff, but to me, it's not like these other supers that are in the game where they just instantly vaporize everything in the arena, you know, where you have the chance to just instantly kill other guardians and stuff. And some are based on skill, and others are based on just right place, right time, pushing the right button at the right moment. It's not always about aim and skill and all these various things. But these new ones, you know, give the Warlock abilities with their grenades and with their solar-powered weapons of the team. You know, it buffs that for the team. And then the Hunter has sort of these arc daggers that they throw, and you know, they can sort of blink from one area to the next. And then, of course, the Titan has these void throwing axes, and they throw 3 axes, and they land on the ground, cause some sort of void damage, and then, at the same time, your teammates can run and pick up those axes, and then wield them and use them in combat for a limited time. So it really does embrace this idea of sort of, these are the team supers. These are going to be great for PvP. They're going to be great for PvE in the dungeons and the raids and the strikes. You know, when your team is looking down and out, this is going to be the ability that you can strike up and you can work together as a team with your super, rather than, you know, it just being your moment of glory to come in and attack and steal all the glory. So the other thing they talked about is how they want to change from seasonal content to episodic content. So when the final shape lands in February, they're going to have a new free roaming area, 3 new subclasses, 1 for each character, and they're going to start premiering these episodes, which there's going to be 3 episodes a year, and there's going to be sort of multiple acts within these episodes. And so that will include a lot of things that we're familiar with, like a raid or a dungeon, or, you know, new strikes, new PvP maps, which they've already said that they want to come in and do that. They're definitely going to give some love to PvP players. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming to the game, as well as the LFG, or looking for game feature, will be officially implemented in the game. Rather than you having to perhaps use, you know, the internet, forums, Discord, or the Xbox LFG app, which I thought was really incredible for its time. You know, being able to set up like, hey, we're playing Destiny, we're trying to do the Crota raid, we need 3 more, you know? So now what they're going to allow you to do is you're going to be able to come in here and say, hey, I've got 45 minutes, you know, I'm kind of chill. I'm just looking for, you know, just a fun little romp through this activity. You know, it's kind of laid back. We're gonna be chill. But yeah, I don't want to get any like super sweaty people, or, you know, hey, I'm someone that likes to teach people how to do raids. I want to set up an LFG that says, hey, I'm gonna do this raid, and if you haven't done it before, I'd love to take the time to explain the mechanics, walk you through it. We can talk strategy, and we can do some test runs, because I'm patient and kind and understanding, and I want to have a good time and help other people enjoy the fullness of the game in the way that I do. So LFG is going to be something really powerful. And they also mentioned that you're going to be able to come in here and select from the Guardians that are applying. You can look at them and sort of say like, oh, okay, this one sort of fits our criteria. Or nah, this one looks like, their attitude doesn't sit right. Or maybe I don't like something about their build. Or, oh, we need our 6th raid character to be a warlock. So, this person won't fit our design here. So, I mean, giving you that freedom to decide and that freedom to sort of make these decisions and look at these things in a very analytical and fair and kind way, I think that's going to lead to a much kinder and stronger community with really good bonds, because I think the commendation system definitely sets up sort of a reputation that players are going to have. And so you'll be able to sort of counterbalance that with the LFG mechanic that they put in the game. And you'll hopefully be able to find people that are like-minded and that you'll enjoy playing with. And potentially, maybe a new friend that you can add to your friends list and include in future activities. So I think that's really cool. They also announced that Crota's End raid is going to be added. That's a classic Destiny 1 raid. That was the 2nd raid added to the game. It's one of my favorites. It's packed full of nostalgia. Vault of Glass is my favorite. Crota's End is probably my 2nd favorite raid in the game, so I'm very excited for that. I want to see what familiarity is greeted upon us with, and what sort of changes they've made to throw a little curveball in and sort of modernize that raid for new audiences. So the final shape is February 27th. It looks really awesome. This has me excited for Destiny, and they mentioned that the final shape is not the end. While it is the end of the Light and Darkness saga, it is not the end for Destiny, and these new episodes are going to explore things that the final shape sets up, as well as exploring new story and narrative beats. They said they really want to get in here and address a lot of the things that were, a lot of lingering questions that we've had over the past 10 years that we've been playing Destiny and Destiny 2. They really want to get in there and answer these big moments and these big questions that we've had on our minds. So I'll have links in the description down below to these Destiny 2 trailers. Even myself covering the Destiny 2 showcase, I'll have links to that. And of course, I did cover the Gamescom opening night live stuff as well. So next thing I want to talk about here is Armored Core 6, okay? This looks really cool. I have a clip for some gameplay in the description down below. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. They released a gameplay preview that is about 13.5 minutes long. And this shows everything from cutscenes to combat to customizing your mech. And I've never played an Armored Core game, but this is from Software, and this is actually the same team that did Sekiro. So you're gonna see a lot of somewhat familiar mechanics if you played Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, but of course this is definitely an Armored Core game at its heart and soul. So you're going to see a lot of robots with guns and swords, and the HUD looks really awesome. The environments are gorgeous. They're destroyed cities, the snowy areas, deserts, giant mechs, mechs that are your size. Lots of interesting objectives, collaborating with your allies in the game, some computer-controlled allies. You'll be fighting all sorts of enemies. You'll be able to customize your unit, as I'm going to show you on screen right here. You can customize, your emblem, the parts that are on it. I would assume, your paint jobs. And then, of course, being able to select the right weapons, the proper tools for the job is going to be very important. And then, of course, if you've got, you know, different missile launchers and cannons on your back, as well as the ones equipped here, you know, the head, the body, and so creating your own unique style. So yeah, that's going to create a lot of interesting build possibilities. And also the attitude that they were talking about sort of functions to me as a little bit of a sort of the stamina bar that was in Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. You sort of had this bar that if you sort of filled that bar up, you were staggered, you were out of energy, and you know, if you allowed that to happen, then the enemy could take advantage of you. And I think that's sort of what the attitude meter is going to be, both for you and for your enemies. You're going to be able to sort of damage them to a point that they're going to lose attitude, and you're going to be able to have them in a weak spot where you can get in there and deal some vital damage, but you want to make sure that that also doesn't happen to you. So if you're using your boosters, your weapons, all these things, you know, and you're taking heavy damage, you don't want to get so badly in disrepair that you become an easy target yourself. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm not going to sit here and show all the footage, but I think just sort of a brief look at it for those of you that might be interested. I think this game looks absolutely incredible, and if you want to check out that trailer, I will have links in the description down below. Now, next thing I want to talk about is Hellboy Web of Wyrd. This is coming to PC and consoles, and this is going to be one of Lance Reddick's final roles. He does indeed voice Hellboy, and this is sort of a cel-shaded comic book style video game, and this trailer does show a little bit of gameplay. It shows off kind of how some of the fighting works. I'm going to skip ahead here, but hard to say what it reminds me of. Maybe something between, you know, Batman and Souls-like games, the Batman Arkham games, and, you know, just sort of games that require you to counter and parry, and then you're able to use things like his pistol in combat and throw these, you know, these big strong punches. You know, you got these grab attacks and interesting characters that you're going to interact with, and the environments look absolutely gorgeous, and the game looks really fun. And once again, Lance Reddick, you know, getting a star role. I mean, we were just truly, you know, before we lost this incredible talent to the world, we were truly living in an era where Lance Reddick was starting to get a lot of incredible opportunities, as if he hadn't already before. But we were really starting to see him come into his own here. So yeah, Xbox Series X and S, Nintendo Switch, PS5, and Steam. It'll be available on October 4th. That is the new Hellboy game. So we saw that at Gamescom. That looked really cool. Another thing I want to highlight, I have reviewed Gulikit's controllers on the channel before. They announced a new one at Gamescom, the KK3, which I believe is the King Kong 3. So the one that I use in a lot of my streams is the King Kong Pro 2. And this is a Hall Effect joysticks. It's a Nintendo Switch and PC controller. And this new one is going to actually work with Xbox and PS4 via an adapter, but it's also going to work on Switch and PC, as you've come to expect. And they're going to have several different color presets. It's going to have your... I believe it has this hair trigger option on these switches here. It even has 4 paddles on the back. And of course it's got grip, it's got color. And my King Kong Pro 2 has shown no signs of wear and tear, no stick drift, because those Hall Effect joysticks are truly a thing of beauty. And it looks like the joysticks on the KK3 are being lit, because I'm seeing sort of this bright, aqua blue, kind of a turquoise light from around the sticks. I can't tell if that's, it does look like it's lights from all the angles that we're looking at it from. So once again, Gulikit coming in there with a really special controller. So I'll have links in the description if you want to check that out. The other thing that was shown at Gamescom was the new Robocop game, Robocop Rogue City. This game looks absolutely gorgeous, and I was a little nervous as to whether, it's a first-person shooter, and I think what's really special about Robocop is, being able to see his cool armor and his weapons and the way he walks and moves and stuff. And so putting him in first person really takes that away. But you do sort of get to experience life through his eyes, the heads-up display that he has, and of course the awesome pistol that he wields, as well as other weapons that we will have access to in the game. This showcases him working with other law enforcement officers, which I think is really interesting. It's not just going to be like Doom or Wolfenstein, where you just run in and just blast everybody. I'm really hoping, and as they're showing here, it looks like there's detective work. There's interesting story beats happening. There's the emotional angle of him, losing his family and becoming this super cop, and sort of discovering, what has happened to him as a human, what has happened to him and his family. And so you kind of see that sort of playful, tease of those moments here in the trailer where it's sort of showing him starting to have memories of his original life. So I'm not sure what all's included in this game, but I think this is the first trailer that has provided me with hope that this isn't just going to be some guns blazing, really bland and boring shooter that's not really bringing anything unique to the table. I think the exact opposite is true. So I think this looks absolutely dope. So I'm hoping it's going to be a good one. Next, I want to talk about this. Gamescom actually posted this on their Twitter page. They got an exclusive on Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. Definitely check out the first game if you have a chance. They say it's not necessary to have played the first game to enjoy the second one, but this one is going to have some massive war battles, absolutely gorgeous graphics here, and of course what's being shown at Gamescom is a work in progress that is subject to change. But it does remind me a lot of Gears of War, with sort of the big hulking armor, the big heavy weapons, the violent grittiness of the world and the aliens. It's got these big, set piece war scenes with lots of enemies, lots of blood, lots of war happening around you. And the Space Marines are sort of these bigger, larger than life heroes. Think Master Chief, right? Like when a regular soldier sees Master Chief come onto the field, you know things are pretty bad, and that it's a pretty big event that we really need to call in the big boys. And that's what the Space Marines are. So I think this is going to be a really interesting thing. And if you're a big fan of Warhammer, I think this is going to dive deep into the lore and a lot of the characters and enemies that we're going to be seeing are absolutely shocking and amazing and threatening and very interesting to see. Also, Sam Lake came on stage and showcased Alan Wake 2, and we got a look at sort of how Alan Wake is traversing this dark place in New York City. Alan Wake 2 picks up from the first game. It's been 13 years that Alan's been in the dark place, and it's been 13 years since the previous game. And as you can see in the video footage, they are going to weave a very narrow thread between having these real, true-to-life filmed sequences that are live action, and then they're going to, just beautifully, transition that into gameplay. And so, Alan is going to be writing, he's going to be investigating, It looks like there is some sort of a James McCaffrey cameo there. He's the voice actor of Max Payne, and it does appear that his character that Alan Wake sort of writes, he's written a lot of noir books about a similar character to Max Payne, his books, The Sudden Stop. Really interesting. And so we get, some brief glimpses at gameplay and story and just sort of these sort of haunting images. It looks like they're really going to step up the horror and really tie this in to Control. This is going to be expanding their universe. This is coming to Epic Games, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, GeForce Now, and it will be available October 27th of this year. So very excited for Alan Wake 2, one of my favorite games ever. The next one, we haven't seen this since the Game Awards several years ago, but Pearl Abyss has been hard at work at this new game called Crimson Desert. And this game really reminded me a lot of The Witcher and maybe of the Kingdom Come game. It's set in sort of this beautiful, gorgeous, incredibly realistic looking medieval world, and it's this third person, sort of action adventure RPG game that just really seems to harness everything you would love about combat, whether it's being an archer, using a sword and shield or various other weaponry, and it shows our character in wide arrays of metal knight armor to sort of cloak and tunic type outfits. It seems like you're going to be able to pick up bounties and sort of do quests for characters and sort of design your own look for this character. And this is the makers of the Black Desert Online game, but this one I believe is meant to be a single player experience, and I think this excites me a lot because the combat that they showed in Black Desert Online was like really, really incredible and almost akin to the Arkham games in terms of how smooth and gratifying the combat is and how much control and mastery you have over your weapons and your character. So yeah, the game showcases a lot of love for animals. He even plays some sort of flute or a recorder, uses a wide variety of weaponry. He explores the world with hot air balloons and skydiving. There's a lot of puzzle solving and some parallels, that really sort of starts to remind me of Tears of the Kingdom when he's, doing parkour, he's climbing buildings. You'll be taming horses and enhancing your skills and your powers. There's no telling sort of what the overarching story is going to be here, but based on what they've shown, you're going to have some mastery over the control of your horse, your weaponry, your traversal, whether it's using this sort of javelin to vault over hills. It looks like you have magic abilities that allow you to fly and traverse and damage areas. There's even the Ents, sort of these walking tree people. It's just absolutely insane the amount of stuff they have shown in this trailer that ends up, only being about 3.5 minutes long, but it felt so long in the moment because they were just showing so much. I mean, there was even quick time events that looked really exciting and big, massive boss fights against creatures and mechanical, devices and such. And, it just looks like a gorgeous game. It just looks like it's going to be fun to play. And it's been a while since I've, really had a game like this where it just looks like it's gonna completely immerse you in it, and you're not really gonna want to play anything else. This reminds me of the way Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom completely captured us, and the same way that Red Dead Redemption 2 kind of comes in, and even Sekiro. It captures you with the world, with its combat, and with the beauty of its environment. And just the feel of the gameplay. It captures all these things and makes it an intense and fun experience. So keep your eyes peeled for Crimson Desert. And this is said to be coming in 2024, so stay tuned for that. Zack Snyder also revealed Rebel Moon, his latest movie coming from Netflix. It's going to be unveiled in 2 parts. a lot of people are saying it's like Star Wars with, sort of violence and sex and more mature and grittier themes. And it seems to be true, and it really seems to pull on a lot of things that Zack Snyder has done in his other movies and his career, and learning what he's learned with Justice League. This movie just seems to be really interesting, really powerful. A lot of interesting scenery and characters and space, science fiction themes. It seems to be blending science fiction with fantasy, which I think is really cool. It's a lot of interesting sort of fantastical characters that are being weaved into this world. And he also mentioned that he's going to have a video game made, and it's going to be a 2-player co-op game by Super Evil Megacorp. And of course, I believe they're in the early, probably design phases and such, but I think that's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to expand the world of the movies with a video game, and they want you to be able to sort of experience that with a friend, and perhaps maybe even more than one friend, should things change. It really depends what they decide they want to do with this world, but I mean, it just looks like an incredible movie. It looks like it's going to have a lot of action, and Zack Snyder is just really perfect at doing action scenes and having, sort of all these themes and this sort of imagery in his films, sort of a deeper meaning, a deeper message, referencing other things and pop culture and things like that. So I think this movie is going to be super dope, and I'm excited to check it out. So yeah, definitely check out the Rebel Moon trailer, and definitely let me know what you think. Payday 3 has some other news other than the fact that Payday 3 is going to be freaking awesome and it's going to be on Xbox Game Pass, but they revealed that one of your handlers in Payday 3 is going to be someone named Mac, and he is going to be played by the famous rapper and actor Ice-T. So yeah, they showed off sort of a brief little mission here in this minute-long clip of in-engine footage, and showing you in the beta here of Ice-T, sort of commentating as these players are playing the mission. He's sort of explaining, how this heist needs to go and what the parameters are and, what you need to be doing. So I think this looks really awesome, and it's always cool to see all these people. I know that Lance Reddick was confirmed that he was going to also have a role in the game. So yeah, this is September 21st. Epic Games, Steam, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5. They have absolutely knocked this one out of the park. Payday 3 looks incredible. Another thing that was shown was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 at Gamescom. And we got our first glimpse here at one of the early missions, Operation 627, which takes us into a prison where it's raining at night, and we have night vision, and we have our squad, and there's sort of this tactical gameplay. And they were sort of explaining that there's going to be, some of those familiar Call of Duty, linear missions that you kind of know, where they're these beautiful, scripted set pieces that immerse you in militaristic, type gameplay. But there's also going to be these more open-ended ones where they sort of place you on a battlefield, and, maybe there's these objectives to get done, but it's up to you in how you choose to do that. You can choose to be stealthy. You can choose to be, loud, going guns blazing and make it a big action thing. You'll be able to have the freedom to traverse the environment, to use the vehicles however you wish, use your weapons and your equipment and potentially your teammates to complete your objectives. But the game looks absolutely gorgeous, and it just looks solid. It just looks super fun, and Modern Warfare 2's campaign was really awesome, and so I can't wait for them to pick up on the heels of that game and, do some amazing things with Modern Warfare 3. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous game. It was really cool to see them transitioning into night vision and rappelling through the prison. I think that scene especially was really special. It's about a 9-minute long trailer, but it's filled with gameplay, and I thought they did a really good job with that. So once again, I'll have links in the description to that. Next big thing is that Lara Croft is indeed coming to Call of Duty in a collaboration with Crystal Dynamics. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 will feature Lara Croft, and according to this image that they've shown here, it does appear to be the Lara Croft with the braided ponytail, the twin pistols, the tiny backpack, the tank top, and the shorts with the dual pistols on her hip. This does appear to be that one over. I don't know. They may have multiple looks or outfits for her, but this does appear to be looking at sort of more of the original design of the character. So let me know what you think about that and if you're excited for that. Next, I want to talk about this because Nintendo has made a big announcement this week for fans of the Mushroom Kingdom. I'm going to read this out. Charles Martinet has been the original voice of Mario in Nintendo games for a long time, as far back as Super Mario 64. Charles is now moving into the brand new role of Mario Ambassador, and it's sort of a way for them to announce, maybe his retirement. With this transition, he will be stepping back from recording character voices for our games, but he'll continue to travel the world, sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. It has been an honor working with Charles to help bring Mario to life for so many years, and we want to thank and celebrate him. Please keep an eye out for a special video message from Shigeru Miyamoto and Charles himself, which we will post at a future date. So one thing I wanted to note is that he was an absolutely legendary actor of this character. Not only Mario, but Luigi, Wario, all these other characters throughout Nintendo's franchise. I think that he was monumental, and from what we've heard on Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which he was not voicing Mario or the other characters in, I think they've probably found someone to take over the role that's doing a really good job. And we did see Chris Pratt sort of bring in an interpretation of the character that I found enjoyable as well, even if I wasn't a big fan of all of his performance. I wonder if this means that they want to sort of, maybe in some games, perhaps give him more voice lines than It's a Me Mario and, Mamma Mia and all these various things that he, his sort of trademark phrases, if they want to actually sort of start voice acting these characters and giving them dialogue and maybe giving him that Brooklyn accent as well. So I'm curious to see if the Super Mario Brothers movie has perhaps had a larger impact on the video game industry. Last thing I want to bring up is that I am indeed sporting my own merch. And if you're seeing the images on the screen, or if you've checked out my social media, whether it's Instagram or Twitter, I have been wearing this cooking apron from the Aaron's Love collection I've done at spring. You can catch the link in the description down below if you want to browse the merch store. But as I talked about in episode 35, I've done, sort of a love collection. I've done a dog collection for Presley the Beagle. I've done a workout collection, and it's a Shackcast collection. All these things are just filled with various things that I love and enjoy and want to share that with you. And if you want to wear merch that supports me and my YouTube, the live streams, my music, I'm going to sort of weave in a lot of different themes, whether it's gaming, photography, music. You'll be able to purchase any of this stuff. And please tag me on social media if you throw on one of these outfits. I even have my Presley mug here on display with my darling little beagle. I had to do a collection of merch in honor of him, but he's a beautiful little beagle that I love. So links are in the description down below on that. But I want to thank you guys for tuning into this extra long episode. I think it was really important to unpack all of these things and make sure that when we're talking about things like Blue Beetle and Snow White, that we talk about it in a clear way that can be understood and, not in an offensive way. And I absolutely loved picking out some of my favorite things I've seen at Gamescom this week. I'm excited for all these games. You can check the Discord. I have something called the Game Calendar channel, and that kind of has a list of all the games that I'm interested in that are coming out. But I want to sort of give you guys a little bit of a production note before we wrap things up. If you haven't already noticed, on Saturdays, myself and my good friend Texas Wolverines, or TX Wolverines, you can find him on YouTube. He is also creating content. We have been playing through the Gears of War series on the channel. We've done Gears of War 1, 2, and we're currently about halfway through Gears of War 3. We are adamant on playing through the entire Gears of War series every Saturday night on the channel starting at 9 p.m. We have talked and we have decided that after Gears, we want to play through the Halo franchise in chronological order. So we'll be doing that next. And then after that, we have mentioned that we want to play Ghost Recon Wildlands and Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and make sure that we go through those games. And we just really want to play a lot of fun and tactical co-op games that we can enjoy and challenge ourselves with together. And so if you want to join us on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. Central, that's 10 p.m. Eastern time, convert that into your time zone. Swing by the YouTube channel if you want to check that out and hang out with the two of us. We're often both live streaming and recording our content at that time, so please swing by and support both of our channels. That's been really fun. Some other things I want to mention is that I was doing kind of less live streams lately, and that is to sort of allow me the time to put more production into making, the short form content like the YouTube shorts, the TikToks, to have more time for the podcast and upping the production of these episodes. And also, another thing I want to announce now is I'm probably going to be doing more episodes of the podcast if I can squeeze in, shorter episodes on maybe just one topic, or having a guest, come in and talk briefly, or just maybe just kind of hitting the headlines of the day or of the week or whatever, and then also having, sort of our bigger episodes also happening in between, where we're doing movie reviews, or I'm sitting down talking with someone for an hour or two. I want to be able to provide sort of a wider source of information and entertainment that's easily digestible in whatever format you like. So if you like to listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple or wherever it may be, or if you like to watch videos, or if you like to watch clips of the podcast, you can find those on YouTube Shorts. I call them Shackcast Shorts, and there's a playlist just for that if you just want to spam watching short form content that's been picked from all the podcasts. Also TikTok, I've been dropping Shackcast Shorts on there as well. If you just want to see sort of bite-sized and you want to comment on bite-sized portions of the podcast, that is available to you, and it's much appreciated. And so I have been doing less live streams, but I want the live streams to be a really good sort of come together moment. And so I think it's more important, rather than to have live streams every day or so frequently that it becomes boring or too the expectation is just that it's always there. I want the live streams to be big special moments, like when we gather to play Red Dead. We're gathering around the campfire to see these awesome moments and experience the glory of this game and the story together. And with what me and Texas are doing on the weekends, we're playing Gears of War, Halo, Ghost Recon, all these things. We're bringing sort of a co-op, a fun friend angle into that on the weekends. And of course, myself and J-Star, we've been playing a lot of games together in co-op. There's Call of Duty. We've got Dead Island 2 to wrap up. So I want to save those big set-piece moments as sort of a big come-together moment. So I think less frequent live streams allow me to make better quality content. And then when that content is there, it's engaging, it's fun. I'm not burned out, I'm not tired, I'm not staying up all night, trying to get stuff done and then trying to do double duty, making clips and editing videos and trying to fit the podcast in a really hectic and packed streaming schedule. So it doesn't mean that you're going to see more or less of me. In fact, I think it does mean you might see more of me, but in different formats. And so it probably means that, hey, follow me in all the links in the description down below. Follow me there, and you'll be able to keep up with the photography blog that I've been working really hard on, trying to post more pictures, getting out there and doing more photography, using new equipment, learning new techniques, and sharing that journey with you guys. Even doing the same on the channel with photography live streams. I've been working really hard on making the merch store something, and I want to sort of broaden that a little more and make it more about, less about, I will have the stuff that's about me in the merch store, because if there's people that really enjoy me and my content and want to support that, I want to allow them to do that because I want to do it too. But I want to also have apparel and merch and stuff that sort of appeals to gaming, music, and photography in more universal themes that maybe people that are not big fans of my channel could probably still stumble onto the merch store and be like, oh wow, I really like this. So I think I want to work on that too, as well as having music and other writing opportunities that I want to focus in on. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything very fair and balanced and maintaining the quality that you've all have come to expect from the Shackcast, my channel, everything I do in my life that I'm sharing with you guys. So once again, it would mean a lot to me if you check all those links in the description down below. The TikTok, the merch store, Twitter, Discord, join the community, interact with us offline on Discord. We can have conversations there. I share a lot of news and a lot of things that I'm passionate about, and I invite people there in the Discord to do the same, because we get into some pretty fun discussions that kind of lead to on-stream conversations, as well as potential ideas for me to discuss on the Shackcast, which you are always free to submit ideas for the Shackcast, whether it's topics or things you want to see discussed on the show, or maybe even guests that you would like to see. Also have links to the podcast, the photography blog, the Instagram. If you want to send me anything on the wish list, I have an Amazon and a Throne wish list. Both of those are great. I got a merch store. The Designed by Humans merch store has some unique stuff on it, but the spring one is kind of the main one that you'll see near the top under my TikTok link. That would be the one that I would recommend you guys support. But yeah, I would like to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on YouTube. Write a review for the podcast. It would really help sort of bring more attention to the podcast. Let me know things that you enjoy about the podcast and things that I can improve on. And if you have any suggestions, feel free. So once again, thank you for watching. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.